Okay, every pony, as promised, I will continue to read Luna's Return, Rise of the Lunar Republic. The new chapter has come out a few days ago. Sadly, I haven't been able to read it yet, but I will do that now, and I hope you will enjoy. Luna's Return, Rise of the Lunar Republic, Chapter 1, Arrival, by Princess of the Night. Twilight stared out of the window at the landscape passing by, the rocky cliffs and mountainous terrain around Canterlot giving way to rolling hills, meadows, and well-tended fields of crops that made the breadbasket for the entire empire. The crowded train car was filled with the sounds of people talking, discussing the upcoming event, gossip, and rumors. Some of the people nearby found themselves in shock as Spike received a letter from the princess, his green flame nearly causing a panic. So once reassured the train car wasn't on fire, people slowly went back to their conversations, as if nothing had happened. Huh? It seems Princess Celestia wants us to oversee preparations for the event, Spike said, handing Twilight the parchment. Very well, Twilight said, looking over the list as the train slowed and soon stopped at the station platform. She turned her gaze towards the window again, noticing how crowded the station and street around it looked. Thousands from all over the empire gathering in this normally quiet, rural town for one of the greatest celebrations. Most of them began clearing out, heading to other events going throughout town. A few people lingering around the platform, waiting for relatives or just simply antisocial, like Twilight. Still, Twilight left the train with all the others, people spreading out and disappearing into the crowd around town, leaving Spike and Twilight and a few others behind. You know, Twilight, maybe you should try making friends like the princess asked. It can't be that hard. Give it a shot. I'm sure the people here have plenty of interesting things to talk about, Spike said, urging Twilight to follow through with Celestia's request first. Twilight glared at Spike for a moment, sighing as she knew she couldn't just ignore Celestia's request, no matter how much she disapproved of the idea of making friends. After all, how would that help her in the long run? Still, Spike was right. It couldn't hurt to at least try. She noticed a pink-haired girl who held a large stack of papers in her hands, approaching her. Figuring this nearby person would be as good as any to try and make friends with, Twilight spoke up. "Hello," she said, not really sure what to say, never having been one to start conversations before. The pink-haired girl Twilight spoke to looked her and Spike over thoroughly, noticing her luggage. Upon seeing this, she gasped and ran off back into town, leaving behind the papers which now flew freely into the air as she ran down the main street. "Well, that was certainly interesting," Twilight said, while Spike sighed and followed her to her new place of residence. The library. The old building was definitely the kind of place Twilight would call home, surrounded by a vast amount of knowledge, in a fairly secluded community where she wouldn't find herself dealing with many others on a daily basis. Across the vast wild expanse of the everfree forest, a storm was brewing. Princess Luna, having traveled the world during her 1,000-year banishment, now stood looking out over the opposite end of the mighty forest, which made up the western border of the Celestian Empire. She had seen much, met many, and was exposed to new ideas, chief among these being an idea that government could be run by the people, or more accurately, elected representatives of the people. A system where personal freedoms and the liberty of all citizens took priority over the authoritarian dictatorship young Luna had known for most of her life. Of the many tribes she had met in her travels, she had gathered plenty of followers, some following her because they believed in her cause, others because they wanted a share of the wealth that the Celestian Empire had to offer. Whatever the case, she had gathered with an army of tribals, dark-skinned tribespeople from the Far East, whose shamans held a vast knowledge of the properties of magic, an energy most mages in the Empire barely understood by comparison. Tribals from the far north, hardened by harsh climates, armed to the teeth, who lived for combat, and nomads from the south, who valued the earth as a sacred treasure and regarded the Celestian Empire and their industrialization as a threat to the well-being of that which they loved. Luna had brought all these people together under her banner, uniting them into a massive force capable of standing toe-to-toe with Celestia's army. Now here they stood, with one great barrier between them and the rich, fertile, industrious lands to the east, still living under the autocratic, iron-fisted regime, a situation that would not change lest Luna herself expose to the people what it was they were missing. She watched as a couple of local tribesmen she'd recruited as guides emerged from the forest, having found a relative safe path around the worst beasts the forest housed. With that said, Luna signaled to her united force to move forward, the vast army marching through the ever-free forest. Little was said as they wandered beneath the thick canopy, through which little light shined. Their progress was stunning, however, little incident being had with the creatures of the forest, some speculating they'd even arrive in Imperial territory before dawn. Luna's thoughts were troubled as she marched at the head of her force. She wondered how much had changed in her absence, how many still remembered her, and if her sister was still angry with her. Still, Luna had goals to fulfill, to liberate Equestria from the grip of tyranny and injustice, a goal she would see through to the bitter end. All doubts took a back seat in her mind, replaced with anticipation for the upcoming battle, and hopefully defeat of her older sister, a figurehead despised by most who knew of Equestria's existence. After all, the fact the people of the Empire loved Celestia would mean nothing when the world itself was turned against her. Well, every pony, here we see Princess Celestia as a dictator. Okay, that's something new. I'm looking forward for the next chapter, actually. Yours sincerely, Visual Pony.